It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Got the Dr. Kevin Dyson, the scholar Stoney Keeley, and the Professor Zach Lyons here. We're just going to roll with it. You said to call myself the professor last week, so we're just going to roll with it. The Doctor, the Scholar, and the Professor. And then we have the incompetence of the Tennessee Titans on full display today. So when I sat down at the computer over here, the chat from a previous show was up. I don't know if it was from the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff or if it was from 3HL, but it said on this message, this was the last message. This is from Roland Hunter that was on Facebook on the F&M Bank chat, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. This team hurts to watch. Ooh. So he basically predicted the pain that we were all going to go through today, watching this team get shut out for the first time since the Denver game in 2019, where they made a major quarterback change that shifted that entire season. It's only the 7th time the Tennessee Titans of offense has been shut out as a franchise. And we were kind of discussing, like, what is the worst? Is this one of the worst games? And you brought up the snow game against the Patriots, the Baltimore Ravens rain game where Marcus got sacked, 20 times. And then there's the Cardinals game where Taylor Lewan ended up writing an apology letter to Chandler Jones.
I forgot about that. I thought it was a thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry, a thank you letter.
Thank you.
It should have been an apology letter to us.
Chandler Jones should have written a thank you letter to Taylor because he put him in a Pro Bowl that year.
So it's pretty dark, right? Like 615-737-1045. We know that people are going to have strong opinions. We're going to hear them out. But let's find some positivity, maybe, Kevin Dyson?
He said positivity. Well, I'll start with this, man. I think, in a sense, you see these guys still battling. And you hear what's coming out of the locker room. We heard the rhetoric coming from Cam. There's fight in these guys. Mm-hmm. And to me, that goes a long way, because if you were hearing things like a lot of I don't knows and maybes, I think I like what they're saying. We just got to continue to go to work. We see this, we see that. We got to correct this, we got to correct that. And I think, and again, it's only the first quarter of the season, but I love to hear that, meaning it means something to the guys. As much as fans, as people not want to believe, it really means something to those guys in the locker room. They don't like losing. Trust me. I can't sit there and play gin or tunk or any card game and like to lose. That's how competitive I've been my whole life, let alone when I was playing professional football. So they want to win. And sometimes wanting and production obviously don't align. And right now the production not align with the want. And I look at some of the key plays, and I'll give you one that I'm waiting to hear back from my brother. I was going to text Blaine. Maybe I will. Just 2nd and 33, inside the 20, 3-by-1. You got the single side receiver. What routes are you thinking? I know initially people are like, how you give that up 2nd, 3rd, and 33? But I'm thinking from a strategist / a football player, there's so many routes he was trying to think and jump, because you're thinking they're going to go get this in chunks. They got 2 downs. You're not thinking they're going over the top of you. But first look, people are like, how do you give up that play? So my point in saying all that is, and we can talk about that later, that play in particular, but my point in saying that is they want it so bad. He was thinking, I can make a play right here. He's going to run this mini curl, this mini comeback. I can steal me one. He's not thinking he's going over the top. Now it looks bad. He get beat over the top. We talked about off air. You saw some positive things like the penalties were down. However, the penalties were down, but some of the penalties that were made were so costly to either first down or getting off the field, that sort of thing. We saw a chink in the special teams armor for the first time in a minute with the 2 missed field goals, which we hadn't seen. He's been pretty accurate all year long and things of that nature. We saw a new play caller. I thought early on there was some positive to take out of it, but again, as the game progressed, it seemed to be some issues. Like Houston started figuring some things out. We'll get into this, and I'll pass this over to Stoney. But I think in every team, in every NFL team, everybody's good. I said this last week, but some strengths are a little bit different. And I'm staying on the defense side of the ball just for a second. For the Titans, the strength of their defense interior. Mm-hmm. I think their linebackers are playing pretty high level. We talked about, and Big Jeff he is who he is, right? But for the Texans, you look at what they have on the outside, be able to apply that pressure all game long, forcing Cam to maneuver. And I think sometimes he was throwing different angles when he didn't necessarily have to and things of that nature, and that's why he was missing throws. But it goes to show you that if we accentuate our strengths better than you do, we give ourselves a better chance to win. And when we got to the fourth quarter, they knew you were throwing. They forced you to make some bad throws, put pressure on you, and they ended up dominating the fourth quarter. And I think Stoney talked about it. You got a 17-minute time of possession discrepancy. That's showing you're not really moving the chains.
The Texans won the time of possession at the end of the game, 38 minutes and 21 seconds to the Titans, 21 minutes and 39 seconds, so your 17-minute difference pretty much. But heading into the fourth quarter, the Tennessee Titans have only possessed the ball 13 minutes and 58 seconds, and the Texans had 31 minutes and 2 seconds heading into the fourth quarter.
Wow.
So even if the Tennessee Titans had held the possession for the entire fourth quarter, they would have never caught up to the Texans. So I'll pass this to you because we'll build on what Kevin Dyson said throughout the whole show. But got two things. First, in the chat, I King Carnage wants me to let you know, take the pen out of your hat, you dork. You're not coaching anything.
I caught it a second ago. I was like, oh, my pen's about to start tapping on the microphone.
But I asked Blaine, we were talking about how things could get worse, and Blaine on a Friday show said it can't get worse. It says you got to stop saying that because it can always get worse, but maybe there's some positivity in this that it can't get any worse.
Let's see. Well, as far as positives go, Cedric Gray had 17 tackles today. That is a wild stat line. Marcus Harris is really fast on special teams. I love watching Tony Pollard run the ball, and that's about all I got. So, look, this was another week where it felt like the opponent seemed content to just run basic offense because they knew they didn't really have to open up the playbook to really beat this team. And so we saw the Texans just kind of chew up yardage, running the ball, dinking and dunking, taking shots when they presented themselves. They were 2 of 2 in the red zone. The Titans were 0 of 0 in the red zone. They didn't even sniff the red zone. 353 total yards to 175 for the Titans. It just, I know that at 6-0, there were a lot of people saying, wow, the defense is keeping them in this game. But to me, it never felt like the Titans were in a rhythm. And it never, to me, felt like the Titans were really in control in this game. They were just kind of there to bend at the will of the Houston Texans. Whatever the Texans wanted to do, it felt like they were able to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels to me, is that we looked at each other at one point and it was 6-0, and this was before the second field goal was missed.
Yeah.
And we were just like, this game's over.
It's over.
I mean, that's how this team has pretty much made us feel. It was the play when they were at 1st and 30, Dyson. We were in here at the studio watching that game. 1st and 30 for the Texans offense. And I looked at Jackson, producer Jackson's behind the glass, and Stoney, and I say, the Texans will get a first down on this drive.
It's true. He said it.
And it's the way that I feel the Titans season has gone. It's not like I'm Nostradamus or anything. It's just that, like last week, the Tennessee Titans chose to opt to receive the kick. I'm like, well, they'll throw pick 6. It's just that anything that can possibly make this team look worse, it happens.
So what I'm hearing,
is a curse.
What I'm hearing is that you're the curse. You're the one that's speaking things into existence.
Maybe I need to start speaking some positivity into existence.
I was going to say, maybe you need to flip that narrative a little bit and help us out.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the issue.
I was trying. I was there in the end of the fourth quarter saying, come on, Tony Pollard, 97-yard touchdown run right here. And it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. So maybe I needed to echo that for you.
Yeah, maybe.
But it does feel like, and this is the larger question, and we'll get to Eric, Angry Man, Glenn, Peyton, and Pete coming up next. But the bigger issue is, you talked about the fight that Cam Ward, the passion that Cam Ward showed in his post-game presser. I mean, it is on full display, the competitor that is Cam Ward, the leader that is Cam Ward. But the question now becomes, is Brian Callahan the right head coach to harness that passion? Because it really doesn't seem like he's this guy. We're talking about now, 4 games into this season, 17 games last season, he doesn't look like a guy that can harness the passion of his own players. And there is something to be said for that. Whether this team is going to be good or not the rest of the year, it's not going to be good. But can they start becoming competitive? And I don't think they can under Brian Callahan at this point. And I don't know. I think we're all kind of like 3-0 here while they're 0-4, but 3-0 here. So thinking, all right, Brian Callahan can't be coach much longer because this is embarrassing. One of the worst losses ever.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Zach, and I'm doing the math and deductive reasoning, right? You know he did not give up play calling on his own.
Right.
That was somebody saying we need somebody else play calling. And thinking like a leader or somebody who's had to make decisions like that, that's preparation. When you come and tell your head coach, hey, we need somebody, you're thinking if this doesn't go well this week, then we've had somebody who've had that can at least call, that knows this offense that can at least call. And they probably will evaluate him and see what he can do this week and see how they produced this week. And I mean, this is all skepticism, man. I'm just making my own assumptions. But I mean, just the timing of everything. Like, I'm no longer calling plays. So-and-so's calling plays. You look pretty bad. What's next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to make the chat real mad right now or not, but I could say, well, Brian Callahan gave up play calling duties and the offense got worse, put on fewer points.
All right.
He at least has that.
You can do, you send your emails to Stoney at ilovebriancallahan.com. This is Titans Talkback, the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. And the Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical problems, and they can protect your home too. Your next play, visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. And all we need are some phone calls, and we got a bunch of them loaded up. So let's start taking some calls, and let's go to Eric. Eric, you're on Titans Talkback.
Hey, guys, before I get to today's game, there's really not a lot you can say about today's game. I remember another horrendous loss that y'all did mention that I was at the game. I left at halftime. We were trailing the Chicago Bears 31-0 at halftime, and we wound up losing the game. And we wound up losing the game 41-7. If you remember, I think the Bears only got one offensive touchdown from their offense. The rest of the touchdowns were primarily scored by defense and special teams, either interceptions, fumble recoveries, special teams, and that's the way they were scoring a lot of their points. If you remember, they got off to a 7-0 start. They finished 10-6, and Lovie Smith got fired after that season.
Dang.
Yeah.
I forgot about that game.
Yeah. So, guys, as far as today's game, you pretty much summed it up with the L'Jarius Sneed play. That certainly was huge. Also, the 2 missed field goals. I also want to ask another question. Now, I'd heard on the broadcast, because I didn't get home and watch the game, really get into it like midway through the third quarter. I'd heard the announcers mention that L'Jarius Sneed also got called for a penalty because of the sack or something like it. Was that true? Was that the case?
Yeah, it was a Cody Barton sack, and there was like just a little bit of a hold. That was a 5-yard penalty, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I'll say, and I'll get off, guys, unless you get some other calls, is it's going to be interesting to see if he stand up and talk about those 2 plays in the locker room or not. I'm hoping he does be a man and just deal with the situation, guys. I'll get off. Y'all take care. We'll talk to you again soon. Tighten up. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Eric. Not a great day for L'Jarius Sneed after he said the who about Nico Collins, and then Nico Collins converts on the 2nd and 33 or 34?
2nd and 33.
On their own 18.
Woo!
Yeah. And there were a couple of times, too, that, I don't know. I'm kind of with Dr. Dyson. I want to go back and watch the tape. We'd probably be calling Blaine this week, figuring out who was supposed to do what. But it felt like Sneed had a couple of plays today where it's like his head wasn't where it should have been. And he wasn't the only one. There were other defensive backs that seemed a little out of place, or maybe the coverage responsibility. Somebody missed a call, communication. Something was off with it. But
it happened in the Rams game, too, a lot.
I don't think it was a particularly good day for the coverages on the back end. Yeah. But can I just say that it's not even October, and we're sitting here talking about the worst losses in Titans history.
And to be fair to your point, it could still be coming down the pipeline.
It could still be coming.
The worst loss could be happening this year later on down the road.
Every week that passes, I look at that New England game with a little bit of ramped up intensity.
Yeah.
Well, this game makes it worse, especially for the Adams family, considering the circumstance behind Houston. We always wanted to be quote unquote little brother. They're not necessarily little brother anymore, but that was the whole mindset. Is when Houston became a franchise again, and they were put in the same division. It was kind of like, we're not losing to Houston. And they became an instant rival, obviously, because of the shared history. And today, when you lose like that, in that fashion, the Adams family takes notice. And that's where we're at with it. And, we'll be interested to see what she does. Talk about Amy Adams. We'll see what she does. This plane ride home, this conversations between her and the GM and president and everybody else. We'll see what she decides.
It will be interesting. There's a lot going on in the chat, and we'll get to some of the comments in the chat as well. But we got to get to these phones because Angry Man in Hendersonville. Angry Man, you're on with Titans Talkback.
What's up, fellas? I'm a very long-time listener, first-time caller. I got to keep it PG. It's really hard, too, after watching this game. But say something real quick and I'm going to get off here. I didn't expect much from the season, so the losses, that's one thing. But seeing them lose the way they lose, that's ridiculous. I'm looking at the schedule, and I don't really, after today's game, I don't really see us winning the game until December the 28th when we play the Saints, maybe.
But if you look at what the Saints, let me ask you this. The Saints at least put up 19 points against Buffalo. Do you think you can put up points? Because, I don't think this Tennessee Titans team can put up points right now. I get why everybody thinks the Saints is an easy one, but right now, I don't know if it's easy at all.
Even if you're playing well, there's no easy game.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said now, it's really sad to sit here after you saying that and what we saw today and to know that week 4, our season is already over.
It feels
we're going to watch 13 more weeks of miserable Titans football. That's all I got to say, man. Y'all have a good day.
You hope, to that point, there's some light in progressing better. That is, because right now, it's week 1, I think we're all set up here like, okay, first game, going down to Denver, altitude, pretty good defense. It's not bad. Hope they get better from here.
Yeah.
And then it's gotten a little bit worse and worse.
Well, they looked competitive against LA until the fourth quarter. And then last week happened, and now this week happened.
Yeah.
Like you're heading in the wrong direction.
And this game was competitive. It was 6-0.
Technically, yes.
Yeah, 6-0 and technically, I mean by score.
Yeah.
6, because the defense was playing pretty well until it wasn't. 6-0 until what 5 minutes into the fourth? Maybe not that much. Whatever it was, I can't remember. But they just kind of broke it open from there. And now, and then it looks, I mean, don't get me wrong, being shut out in an offensive league always looks bad, but it wasn't bad until it was bad, I guess.
It doesn't, like, the defense was looking good.
Yeah.
Right now, you could put some of this blame on the offense, but the defense also wasn't helping themselves get off the field, right? Like, the offense can be blamed, but when you're talking about a 13-minute and 31-minute difference for possession going into the fourth quarter, some of that needs to be on the defense for not getting some stops.
Yeah.
And for allowing, 2nd and 33. Like, that's not the offense's fault they allowed that. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about truly being competitive, one team was able to pull themselves out of their kind of crappy offensive muck they were in, and that was the Texans, while the Titans just kind of were stuck in it. They just couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
The touchdown that Dr. Dyson mentioned that kind of broke things open, Woody Marks' touchdown was the 13th play of that drive that went for 82 yards and took up 7 minutes and 51 seconds in the time of possession. Like that late in the game, I just wonder how much something like that does kind of break your spirit a little bit.
Yep.
You had also said something to the effect of, and I King Carnage kind of alludes to this in the chat, but you said something during the game where you're like, this looks like a team that could just be fine winning this game 6-0.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. The way they were calling their offense was just like, yeah, we'll take what we can get because we don't think you can score on our defense, and we're perfectly fine if we just win this 6-0.
Yeah, that's kind of how the Colts' approach was last week. You said the same thing last week. They just, we feel like we're a better team than you are right now, that we can just play our base stuff and we'll find a way to win.
Yeah.
Whether the levee breaks like it did today or what have you, we feel like right now we're a better football team than you. You're not going to be able to score on us.
That feels like the biggest indictment of this team right now is that you've had 2 weeks in a row of teams playing like, we don't have to really do much or open up the playbook.
It kind of felt like that way for the Rams, too. Denver was a struggle, right? But like for the Rams, on at least defensively, maybe not offensively, but defensively, they weren't doing anything crazy.
There was a little bit in that Rams game of like we're kind of playing with our food a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and like suddenly they wake up and then it goes 33-19.
Yeah. Whew. All right, let's go to Glenn. Glenn, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Always happy to talk to you. First time, long time. I think the last time I called in was when Clay Travis was around the station. So it's been a long time. I've always got an opinion, but I felt like sharing it today. Dice, I want to remind you that you're a legend, brother. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. Coaches are ultimately weighed on wins and losses, but in between the wins and losses, there are 3 things that I look at for head coaching. And I'm no Nostradamus either. But here it is. Culture, discipline, halftime adjustments. I see none of that from Callahan. Callahan is a great guy. Love to have a beer with the guy. I'd leave my wallet out around the guy, but he's a crappy head coach, okay? This guy is a bum, okay, of a head coach, okay? What happened last year? What was a big issue for the Titans last year? Penalties, right? Have we seen any reprieve from that this year? No. So no progress there. So our guys are undisciplined. That comes down to coaching. halftime adjustments. That's a huge one for me. I've seen 0 halftime adjustments from this coaching staff since Brian Callahan has been here. 0. If you guys can point to one, please let me know. I've seen 0, and I'm an optimist. And then culture. I'm sure guys are all happy, not happy after today, but I'm sure the culture is fine. These guys are making a lot of money. But at the end of the day, if you can't hang your hat on something with your football team that you can keep drawing back to keep these guys disciplined and on the same page, what are you doing as a head coach? So those are 3 things that I look at, and I don't see Brian Callahan, maybe in the future, but right now he doesn't have them. I think the head coach hire for him was a little bit premature, maybe by 5 years or so. Who knows? Everyone's on a different path. But Callahan's not going to get it done. You guys said it best earlier. The Titans are cursed. The curse is Callahan. They both start with the letter C. There's no coincidence there. So I'm sure he's a great guy outside of football. As far as a head coach for the Tennessee Titans, I don't have anything for him. So appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Glenn. So now we know that the number one attribute in the next head coach needs to be that he'll steal money out of your wallet if you leave it around.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
trust him.
Can't trust him. Can't trust him.
I mean, you know what? Maybe we need some personality in there that you do have to, you can't turn your back on the guy.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, you'll get traded to the Jets if you got that.
Oh, touche, my friend, touche.
But I do. The halftime adjustments thing, I think, is more of a discussion about semantics, because what people are saying is what's going on in halftime that is leading to you guys coming out flat consistently in the second half. Why aren't you leaning into stuff that you saw worked in the first half? It's not about overhauling game plans, but what
exactly.
when fans are saying these halftime adjustments, that's what they mean.
Yeah.
And I think there's a valid reason there. I think all of his reasons were very valid.
I think Stoney made that point yesterday. It might have been you last week. It might have been you, Zach, talked about the Colts and their play action. And I went into that a little bit, and we talked about that. And that goes to that adjustment, that piece of they're seeing something that they're able to leverage against the Titans and take advantage of. And this is why you continue to see it, because they can't stop it or whatever, on both sides of it. And I think, to your point of the whole adjustment thing, I know people use that word adjust.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like you said, you lean into, hey, this is really working. Instead of motion into it, we're just going to line up and get after them or whatever. Those are the adjustments you don't create a whole game plan and then all of a sudden go at halftime, say, scrap that, do all new stuff. You don't have that kind of time to practice. You don't know how you're going to execute. You don't know what's going on. The variables are too great. At least now, if you say, hey, we're just going to, instead of on 3rd and 4, we're going to show blitz, the same blitz we did before. Now we're going to drop the nose guard right into that passing lane, create a pick. That type of stuff happens. That's the kind of adjustments. And it seems like, whether it be the third quarter and really we'll say the fourth, because it's almost happening every time in the fourth quarter right now, the teams have kind of just said, you're not going to beat us just playing straight up. So we're going to be here, and you're going to eventually make a mistake that's going to open this thing wide open. And that's kind of been the MO. So there's about adjusting, but when you're just playing your game, they're not necessarily adjusting their whole game plan either. They're just executing a lot better on a higher level.
Imposing their will, right?
Yes,
the Tennessee Titans cannot impose their will.
I'm curious if this kind of touches on something we were talking about before we went on the air today, and this staff seemingly having a fixation on plays over players, and just saying, this is the personnel we have to deal with. We know if these plays are executed, they're going to work. Doesn't matter who's out there, you are expected to execute upon this. And talking about drawing up plays for the playmakers, scheming and calling those plays to get those guys involved. It all ties to something we've been critical of this coaching staff for, is the rhythm. The offense can't get into a rhythm. And so I'm curious if part of these second half woes that we're talking about, and you would have better perspective on this than I would. It might shock people. I didn't play in the NFL, but does that take a toll on you? Time after time, you go out there and you just can't get into a rhythm that finally, by the time you get around to the fourth quarter, the dam's broke.
I talked about this a while ago about receiver play. I don't know if it was Zach and Blaine or who I was with, but I was talking about it. And there's kind of a rhythm that comes with playing receiver, right? Like if you get me involved early, I know where the gaps are.
Right.
I know where I can stutter. I know where I can take off. I know I can extend my arms a little bit because I'm in the flow of the game. I'm in the rhythm. And what game was that last year where Ridley? Was it Houston where he went off a little bit and he had
I think it was the Detroit, right?
Detroit game.
Even though they
Detroit.
lost, that's when it kind of turned the corner for him.
And he got into a rhythm. They got him involved early. And then we said, we'll see how this grows. And then you saw kind of the intentionality of getting him involved early so he can be part of things. That is from a receiver's perspective. Now I'm hanging on the receiver just a little bit, but that's kind of what you're thinking about when you talk about somebody like Ridley. But offensively, let's get some kind of rhythm going. And they got one guy right now that is showing production. That's Pollard. Yeah. And it's limited production because you're behind all the time. You're behind the chains all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you can't even expand on his ability to do anything because I have to throw the football. Or now it's instead of 2nd and 4, we got a penalty. Now it's 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 15 or what have you. And then it just takes you off schedule. And that's what this team is happening to the team. When you get something good and you got to go back because of a penalty or a mishap or a drop ball or something like that, they're not good enough right now as a team. We're not playing good enough as a team to overcome those things.
And they haven't been since last year, right? I mean, they were struggling to do that under Vrabel towards the end.
I was going to say, back to when Vrabel's last few games.
But even now, it's like you've kind of zapped any kind of faith. Because even with Vrabel, there was always like, this could be the Vrabel game, right? This could be where things get back on track. And I know everybody's probably looking over at New England, where Josh McDaniels' offense put up a bunch of points today. But you got to remember, he was forced on Mike Vrabel. So, would they even have that if it wasn't forced on Mike Vrabel? And that wasn't ever going to happen here, anything to force Mike Vrabel really with anything. But at the end of the day, you always still had that little bit of hope that, this is the Mike Vrabel game. Yeah. Like, this could be the Derrick Henry game. There is no that feeling right now. And there hasn't been that feeling for a while. There is no level of confidence in Brian Callahan. And listen, I feel like they should fire him just for his own health, mental health.
I feel bad for the guy.
A mercy firing. Mm-hmm. A mercy firing. Because at this point, I know that fans are angry at Brian Callahan. But there is a part of me that remembers that he's a human and he just, it's over. Yeah. When you look at him up at these pressers or even on the sideline, it's over.
It's taking its toll. I saw on the sideline, it's taking its toll on him.
Yeah.
And I brought the point of how many kids he has, and people forget there is a human element to that, and these kids are hearing it too.
Yeah.
Your dad sucks. He needs to be fired. And they got to go home with that and live with that too. And again, that's just the empathy that we're all and compassion we have for people. But they are in the entertainment business. You did sign up for this, and you get a hefty check for this as well.
Right.
Yeah. And the expectation is you're coming here to win football games. And he knows that. We heard the gentleman yesterday, the head coach at Arkansas. He alluded to that. He gets why people mad. He's mad. I want to win too. I'm highly competitive. But it's not happening. You are competitive, and so are the fans, and so are the ownership, and so are the players. And so it's just not clicking. So what does that usually what that means is got to make a change.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And he looks like tired. He looks worn out. And that to me, there's two signs of that. That means he's worn out, but also he cares.
Yeah,
he cares, and that is his name, right? It's his legacy, and he wants to win, and it's not working right now.
And it's not even close to working. That's the thing. Again, 0-4.
Yeah,
there's always the distinct possibility that this team was going to go 0-4. I mean, we saw what this offensive line was going to have to go through the first 4 weeks.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people probably thought, okay, 1-3, but the way they look is just, it's too inept to ignore.
Well, I don't think you can have new mistakes on top of what you were doing poorly last year. And that's where I think things have gone really sideways. And to me, it feels like a situation that has just come completely off the rails. And Brian Callahan has kind of lost control of the situation a little bit.
Right.
Because it's not his best. It hasn't been his best play calling. The team is not playing smart football. They're not playing complementary football. The word I've used this season so far is incongruent. And to figure out, you have to figure things out on the fly on top of everything else, because there's a new game next Sunday. And it just seems to me like this is a case where things are compounding and the walls are closing in, and it's not a good spot to be in.
Are they coming back to Nashville, then going to Arizona?
I have no clue, but more than likely.
More than likely.
But, I mean, maybe they'll stay between the Arizona and Vegas game because that's right there.
2 back-to-back West Coast games.
I would assume that they are coming back.
Yeah, it's only an hour flight, so.
Let me ask you this. The players continually to see a beat-up guy like Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
We know not everything's working. At what point – because the team – I asked Blaine, and maybe you disagree, difference of philosophy, but I kind of agree with what he says. Like, I asked him, I was like, doesn't the team take on the personality of its head coach? And right now, that's not the personality you want infecting the team at this point because he looks like a lame dunk. Mm-hmm. He looks like a guy, dead man walking, and that could leak into what this team is.
Yeah, I think so. And more specifically, I think when there's a dark cloud and you get on the field, you try to block the stuff up, but I think it's embedded in your skin, if you will. And like, because you start pressing, you start doing things that are not there. Phantom blocks become available. You start trying to make a play that wasn't there. You get outside your gap, and then it makes the coaches look worse because now you're trying extra hard to do what you're not supposed to do, and then it wasn't the call, but the coach gets the blame. So it's just a domino effect. And I think right now everybody's in that mood because guess what? They're going to be reporters in the locker rooms tomorrow. Guess what they're going to ask? Whether if Callahan's there or not, that's going to be the focus. Do you think Callahan should be fired? What happened in the game? Why did you get that penalty? What, like, you know what I'm saying? I had a friend, man, he's a principal, and he came to me, we were talking, and he said, man, you've caught a lot of footballs. And if I tell you to catch that football, you just catch it without instinct. But if you drop it, it wasn't like you just wanted to drop. His point was, people don't want to fail. We want to be successful. So why, if you're hearing all the negativity, you can't help but to have that on you. So if somebody has the drops and they start pressing like I got to make this play, and then it becomes harder to make those routine catches because you're focusing on people like you got a lot of drops. So when you're not relaxed, you're not natural as much, and so you can't help but to feel that energy in the locker room from the coaches screaming a little bit more in the meetings, screaming a little bit more at practice, putting a little bit of pressure on everybody else. You can't help but to feel it.
All right, we'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans coming up next. We'll also get to your phones, Peyton, Pete, Jake, Anthony, and Ryan, and Philip. We got loaded phones, and we still got some lines open, 615-737-1045. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 1045 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Hey, Fusion Site is the Titans provider of the top-of-the-line VIP restroom, trailer, and roll-off dumpster needs. Fusion Site, Nashville's MVP. Visit fusionsite.com to learn more. All right, let's go straight to the phones. Let's go to Peyton, who wants to talk Titans. Peyton, you're on with Titans Talkback here.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are y'all?
How you doing, man?
Good.
I'm doing well. So, this was actually the first Titans game that I fell asleep watching. At about halftime. I'm actually working at the new Titan Stadium. I'm a huge fan. I love the Titans. I don't take anything that happens throughout the course of the season or decisions or whatever. I don't let that stuff bias my love as a fan for the team. I still have hope for the team because I think Tennessee just in general has a resilient culture about itself. I definitely I think there's a lot of people that call in, a lot of people like fans like myself that think that there's one or two things that we can do that can fix our situation. I think that's a micro way of looking at it. I think the bigger picture is establishing a culture, is establishing a mentality of not just doing good enough. I think we've been just trying to do good enough for the past 2.5 years. Kind of when Tannehill started to go downhill, getting rid of Derek and when that, timeline kind of started, and then ushering in the Will Levis era and Brian Callahan. I think we've taken the ability of our good players to just be who they are, and we've tried to fit them into a scheme that Brian Callahan has given us, and our offensive scheme just doesn't work. I don't know, we're 3-18, 3-19 under Brian Callahan. I don't know how much more people or Amy or whoever needs to see that the way that we run our offense is not working. We need some fresh ideas. We need some wheel routes, some people put into motion. We need, bootlegs, play action, and all of those things. Or when Tennessee was at its best, as of recently with Tannehill, we had a lot of good offensive scheme going. I don't think you have to lean on your defense so much when your defense is having to defend, every single score. We're just getting further and further behind. Teams like the Ravens, the Bills, they can afford to give up 20 points because they're going to score 30 or they're going to score 40. Love the Titans. Curious to see what you guys think. I definitely think Brian needs to go, but I also think we have some other cancers on our team, including L'Jarius Sneed. We have some guys that just don't have any business being in that locker room for us to become something better. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem. I mean, hey, listen, we're here to let people vent. I got people in the chat complaining. I was like, the guy just woke up. He had a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, man. Like,
he was napping.
Let people adjust. Let people, deal with this how they want to. That's what I'm here for.
Let me ask y'all something. Let's see. Cam was the number 1 pick overall. Another first-round pick got his first start of his career.
Oh, okay. We're going to go here.
All right.
Today, Jackson Dart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wins.
Mm-hmm.
Scores a rushing touchdown. Let's see. Statistically, he was 13 for 20, 111 yards. Pretty efficient.
Yeah.
1 TD, no picks, sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
Difference.
And he had a critical conversion to help seal the game where he got hit and then he rolls off and gets the first down. Kind of like Vince Young, Ryan Tannehill-esque stuff.
Now, he's getting his first start, the 4th game of the year, compared to Cam, who's been day 1 starter. Is there something to say to that, being able to kind of get acclimated to the pros and see what's going on? 2, is it just the difference in the ability of the play caller to get a guy ready to play?
I feel like it's both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely advantageous to Jackson Dart that he did get to sit for a few games and just kind of go through the motions, get
have
the
a
routine
good vet
down.
like Russ.
Yeah, and kind of But I feel like from what I've watched of the Giants, I mean, they've got a pretty good defensive front. Dexter Lawrence almost had a pick six today, the big boy touchdown almost. But I feel like they do play a little more complimentary football. The offensive line, since getting Andrew Thomas back, has kind of it just kind of feels like a better situation with a coaching staff that, for all the fire that Brian Daboll has taken and come under, I feel like they're probably a little more rhythmic with what they want to do.
I got one more point to make, and this is even beyond the quarterbacks. They have a rookie running back, had 25 carries today, 79 yards. They have 42 carries total. Now 10 of them come from Dart, but 42 carries, 161 yards.
Well, that's what we kind of have been talking about, right? Heading into the season, what are we talking about? The two best friends of a rookie quarterback, obviously besides your coaches, the two best friends on the field is your running game and your defense.
Yep.
And because your defense can rise above if your offense isn't moving the ball, because your rookie's going to have growing pains, right? Like 111 yards is nothing flashy.
No, not at all.
But he was efficient, right? He was able to make plays with his leg. He was comfortable in this offense. And the run game for Tony Pollard is pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Like, I am sorry, but the people who want to, I don't know if maybe there's probably not a lot of people out there trashing Tony Pollard, but like this idea that he can't be an every down back. Well, he's also a pass catching back, and they're barely using him in that regard either, which is so wild to me that they're taking him off on the field on third downs or in goal to go situations that they've done a lot over the last 2 years. And I know that they're trying to expect, when Tyjae Spears comes back, this changes the entire dynamic of the running game. No, it's not going to change anything because you're not committed to running the football. And you got to be a little bit more committed to running the football. And it was working. They were getting 4 yards or 5 yards on first down. And then they would try to do a trick play. And then they would try to get a little too cute. And then there would be times where there was an incomplete pass or, because he was inaccurate. Or there was a time where the offensive line doesn't hold up. Well, your running game is supposed to help you with. If you wanted to go back and do run, pass in this particular game, it probably works. Now, it may not win you the game, but it probably works. And they don't want to do that because they have a hard time getting in the rhythm. In fact, today, Brian Callahan said it's hard to find a rhythm. That is your job throughout the week, is to find ways to get into a rhythm on offense and get your team in a rhythm. And he is not doing that, and then oftentimes it feels like he's getting the team out of rhythm.
Does Cam need to extend drives more, run more? Because I'm saying that because he doesn't. He's a pocket passer by every sense of the word, right? He likes being in there trying to figure things out. But does he need to look to be able to extend drives a little bit more, plays a little bit better by running around and getting first downs that way, kind of open some things up? Because if I'm a defense and I'm thinking, well, the quarterback, he's just going to sit back there. That's kind of like our defense always loved playing people like Peyton Manning. He's a statue. He's going to read the defense and deliver the football, but he's not going to be out there running around, have you chasing him like somebody like Mike Vick used to.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I'm scheming against him, like, well, I know where he's going to be. We're going to get after him. The receivers make plays to get open. We can drop and play coverage. So to me, I'm like, because I'm looking at Jackson Dart had 10 carries today, and he was sacked 5 times. So, I mean, extended drives. That's my whole point is there seems to be a level, and again, I didn't watch the whole Giant game like I did the Titans game, a level of flexibility or with Jackson. Then I think Cam, maybe he just pressed like, I got to be this type of player for this team or just because Cam's a player.
Right.
And we've always seen he's a playmaker. Just go make plays. Nobody would care, to y'all's point of play scripts or how we doing rhythm. If we were just making plays, all that's out the window.
Well, you speak on this, the level of rigidity in this offense that we've talked about numerous times, it feels like.
Yeah, it kind of feels like there's just not a lot of wiggle room. It's either this works or it doesn't, and we're going to keep running it either way. To that point, though, I do feel, I know I said this about the offense earlier, but I feel like defenses are also kind of just, they know that Cam's not going to take off. He wants to sit back there and find the guy down the field. So while the Titans' offensive line has looked good in some pass protection metrics, I think it's a little deceiving because teams aren't sending the house.
Yeah.
They're just going to rush 3 or 4. And even if the protection holds up, they know the coverage is going to win. They're going to win on the coverage on the back end, and Cam's going to throw, or eventually somebody's going to get through and bring him down. I don't know where the designed runs are. I don't know why they don't lean into that aspect of his game more. I think it's a fair point of criticism.
Yeah, I kind of look at it this way too. The running game can also help keep your defense off the field because you can let the clock run down, right? Yeah. Because if you really think about it, the New York Giants today, 42 carries, but they were at 3.8 yards per carry. That's really not a very good ratio, right? Now, it helps that you guys were able to burn down the clock, let your defense get some rest, let your defense win the game, which is kind of what you're supposed to do with the rookie quarterback. Whereas the Tennessee Titans had 18 carries, including one -4 yards from Chimere Dike, but they were at 4.6 yards per carry. So what was working? The run game was working, and you guys refused to lean into it.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a larger trend in the NFL right now, and maybe this is getting the conversation way bigger picture than it needs to be, but there is a trend in the NFL where teams are kind of going back to running the ball. They're lining up in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, and every team, like I'm watching, prepping for these games, watching the upcoming opponents, and all of these teams have a tight end that can do both, catch and block. And some teams have 2 that they can just trot out there, and they can kind of move the ball when they need to churn a few yards. And it just feels like the Titans are still behind on that trend. Like, this is where the league's heading. But no, we still want to stick it out in our 11 personnel, out of shotgun, 3x2, 3x1 formations with a running back at my hip, and we'll go from there. We'll take our lumps that way. And I go back to the word rigidity. It's like sometimes, like, man, it's not working. It's not working. Sometimes you got to shake things up and add some wrinkles in there.
Well, look at it this way. Across the way, right? We're talking about rigidity. The Houston Texans, 35 carries for 129 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. But you know what they were able to do? They were able to have a 6-minute, almost 7-minute drive, 4 minutes and 37-second drive, 5 minutes and 56-second drive, 4 minutes and 18-second drive, a 7 minutes, 51-second drive. The longest drive the Tennessee Titans had was the very first drive for 3 minutes and 19 seconds, and they only had one other drive above 3 minutes, and that was 3 minutes and 8 seconds, the first drive in the second quarter.
And the conventional people are going to look at that and say, well, they were behind, had to throw, but not really. It was 6-0 for the longest.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
And to the point, they didn't start scoring their touchdowns until the fourth quarter, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, we're talking, it's kind of, it's just bad. And they talked about this. See, here's the thing about this team, and we'll get to some calls here in just a second. We're sorry that we're
venting
kind
too.
of gas bagging.
We're venting too. We got to get this off.
They have told us and promised us so much in the offseason. Well, we want our workload between Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears to be 50-50. They said the same thing last year, never happened. We want to be an efficient, explosive offense. Well, part of that's going to be leaning on your run game. They said they want to lean on their run game. They haven't done that. They said they want to blitz more. They haven't done that. It's just a bunch of empty promises at this point. At some point, we just have to call it like we see it. You cannot be trusted. Whatever's coming out of your mouth, we can't trust that you guys are actually going to follow through. From a game plan perspective, it's not just from an execution perspective. It's from a game plan perspective, and that's kind of where I'm at with this.
But I get it. To your point, but it's hard to say I'm a blitz more when I'm playing behind the scoreboard all the time too. And my offense is not scoring points. So defensively, I'm thinking I got to protect the clock, protect the scoreboard because I don't even know if they're going to score touchdowns. So I can't give up big plays thinking. If we give up plays, we absolutely have no shot. So right now, you're thinking you're playing to keep the game close, hope to give yourself a chance to win at the end or be in the ball game at the end, but they're losing in the fourth quarter. So theoretically, the process is working for about 3 quarters, but then you get the fourth quarter and the levee breaks. So then it's like, I wanted to do those things, but I can't because we give a bad field position or we turn the ball over inside our own 20 or a pick 6 or whatever it might be. So that's to that point. But I think at the end of the day, what do you have to lose, especially on the offense side of the ball? And I'm looking at the Giants stats and all that, and you just did the comparison. It's almost like, again, we're talking more of a veteran play caller calling plays. It's almost like the different understanding. Like, we're going to probably be in close games with a rookie quarterback. So how do we protect him? We run the football, play action, and you know what, Jackson? You're a good athlete. You can extend drives too. Just go make plays, however it looks.
It's a great point. Raise a great conversation.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, where's the disguise, right? Too,
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're in shotgun so much, you're pretty much signaling that you're not going to run it.
Yeah.
I mean, because heading into this game, I don't know where they're going to end up after this game, but heading into this game, they were the seventh highest pass rate team in the NFL, which is crazy for a rookie quarterback that has not been able to. This team as a whole, this unit as a whole, has shown through at least the first two games before you even got crazier these last few games, that it cannot sustain a pass-heavy offense. You have to start switching gears. You have to start adapting. And I thought Bo Hardegree would be that guy, which then leads the question mark being, well, how much input does he really have? We were told that he has autonomy, but we've been told a lot of things, and there hasn't, and it's very hard to say that. So to me, it's like, okay, your offensive line held up pretty well. I mean, against a Houston defensive front that has gone crazy for sacks, you only allow 2 sacks.
Yeah, but to Stoney's point, though, he made a point earlier in the show. If I'm able to only send 3 or 4 guys, at the most I can have out is 5. You still outnumber me.
Yep.
And it's still a case where it's like, okay, well, we know we can do this and win, so we don't care about getting the sacks or the pressure because we're going to beat you anyway.
Yeah.
Right. It's to me, the lack of respect is a big thing, and I also look at it as you're not helping yourself, right? Because we're talking about, it's not just Brian Callahan helping the team; he ain't helping himself.
Yeah.
He is trying to run a Bengals offense that doesn't have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase currently, that doesn't have T. Higgins. It doesn't have, those guys. It doesn't even have a Trey Hendrickson. Well, we could talk all that we want about Jeff's big day, but they still don't have an edge guy. Yeah. You need an edge guy in this league. Like, they don't have the key components that makes the Bengals offense successful when it's on fire, and they're trying to run that offense. You need to lean into your strength, and your best player on offense right now is Tony Pollard. And it's not even close, and they do not want to lean into it.
He's been the most consistent in the last 2 years.
Right.
Speaking of trades, I mean, y'all got to talk about that trade all week long. Why they get one of the DNs from Houston? I'd take either one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah. I mean, but they didn't go for that last year, because remember, Daniil Hunter was was he traded or a free agent?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, he was a free agent, and they didn't go with that. They went after, your Calvin Ridleys and your L'Jarius Sneeds and all that kind of stuff. There wasn't a Daniil Hunter really available. You could say maybe Hassan Reddick was available. That would have been the one guy. Maybe Zadarius Smith. But instead they went to Dan Moore because they needed a left tackle, and they panicked and overpaid for a left tackle that it's not good. Like, he has his moments against the Colts, but like, now we go back to where you're playing against a good defensive line and you don't look good whatsoever. Like, you can't rely playing only against Colts level defenders, even though that they had 3 sacks and 11 pressures heading into that game last week and walked away with 4 sacks and 18 pressures in that one game. You can't account for that every week.
I like that the narrative on the Dan Moore signing was like, well, he struggles against the elite pass rushers, but he's really good against the bad ones. And I was watching the game today thinking, when's Dan Moore going to face a bad pass rusher?
Yeah.
It's the NFL.
This, it ain't good, man. It hadn't looked very good.
Yeah. And we kind of knew that was going to be the case all weekend or all year, but it's looked even worse. And I think that is the point of where we're at. We knew this wasn't a good team. But you can't be a boring team and a bad team. You can't be an incompetent team and a bad and boring team. And they're all three. They're hitting the tic-tac-toe of awful team.
Yeah.
Like, that's not good. And that has to come down. Listen, Brinker and Bergonzi deserve some fire thrown their way too for how this roster was either built by their choice or allowed to be built or influenced by what the defensive coordinators or the offensive coordinators or what the staff wanted. At the end of the day, they signed Draymond Jones and kept Arden Key, and they signed Jihad Ward, and they decided to trade back and draft Femi Oladejo. Those are the guys that decided all this, and at the end of the day, they need to be feeling a little bit of heat too. Now, I'm not saying that Borgonzi needs to be fired, but Brinker is a very constant thread throughout this whole end of Vrabel to what we're seeing now.
I just think this has been bad enough that you evaluate everything at this point.
Yes.
I don't think anything's off the table the way that this team has come out and looked through 4 games.
And reportedly, I guess I should say reportedly, they changed their mind about Brian Callahan. And I was a big proponent of trying to give Brian Callahan patience and grace for last year. But when they fired Rand Carthon, I said, if you fire one, you fire them all. And they talked themselves out of firing Brian Callahan, and that's on themselves too. Reportedly by what I think it was Easton or TD. I can never remember. I need to go back and find that article. But
well, I would say this: I don't think either one of them are going anywhere.
No.
I think the conversation now, and to me, the first domino was taking play calling dude's way. We can say spin how you want to. I decided to give it up, but that came from somebody saying, "Hey, you need to hand this off to whomever," and he did that. I think that was the first domino effect, and I think that was kind of like, all right, we're gonna hand this off. Let's see how this team looks. More specifically, how does Cam look? And he struggled a little bit today. So this flight home, I bet you there was some boxes that they were checking off that they were hoping to on either side of it, good or bad. Like, this is what I want to see good. Did that check that box off? No. Maybe, yes, maybe. And then the bad stuff, if we see these things, then it might be time to make change. And I'm overgeneralizing it probably, but there's conversation that's going on. I mean, you can't be in the positions that they are in and not be thinking that right now. What is the best thing for the franchise and this team going forward? And again, more specifically, you just drafted a quarterback number 1 overall. What's the best thing for him going forward?
Brinker, Bergonzi, and Amy Adams Strunk are likely in a suite up at NRG Stadium watching that game. Stoney, write some fan fiction. What's that conversation?
Fan fiction.
I didn't come to do my creative writing today. I feel like that's a very tense room. I feel like there's going to be some anxious vibes in there.
Did Amy stay the whole game?
No, she went to her Houston estate. No,
I think that's a legit question. She doesn't have to.
Yeah.
She has somewhere to go. They have to get on a plane. She has somewhere else to go.
It is hard to me. It is hard for me to imagine a scenario today where she left the game feeling okay about what happened, and that's like anybody,
right?
Too. So I don't know. I'd be nervous.
Yeah.
I would be very nervous.
What's Pete's spin on it?
I know. We'll have to get to Pete. We'll get to the phone calls, I swear, right when we come back. Coming up next, we will get to the phones. We'll go very phone heavy the rest of the way. This is Titans Talkback, the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Got Dr. Kevin Dyson, the scholar, Stoney Keeley, and I'm the professor, Zach Lyons, here to carry you through up till 6:30 till Sunday Night Football. Let's go to the phones because we promised that we'd go to the phones. Let's go to Jake. Jake, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. So I think that in a weird way, there's a big philosophical difference in how, Callahan talked all week about a desperation, and it seems like there's a desperation not to lose versus a desperation to win the game. And if you look at the beginning of the end of the first half, Cam, 2-minute offense, going, driving, they're doing everything they can, pull it back, don't take shots towards the end zone, don't take shots downfield, decide to run the ball, settle for a field goal. And at that point, when it was 6-0, like you guys said, it kind of felt like the game was over. They couldn't do anything else. You knew that right there they kind of signaled, waved the white flag, and I think you sense that even in the post-game comments between Cam and Callahan. Cam is frustrated. The team is frustrated. I know you don't really win a game at the podium, but I think a lot of it is there's just these two different philosophical things that are fighting each other. You have a quarterback that is aggressive, that is taking shots, that wants to win, and a coach that kind of is just trying to maintain and keep his job. And those two things don't line up with each other. Thanks.
Jake, I am stealing that line all week. Desperation not to lose.
Yeah.
Because they did speak about that desperation.
Yeah.
And listen, every team's desperate to win games and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You can either be hungry or you can be starving and desperate, where you'll eat anything that may even something in the trash, right? Mm-hmm. Or you can be like, hey, I'm hungry. I'm going to go out here and make me a meal.
Mm-hmm. What Deion say a few years ago? There's a difference between players that are hungry and starving. I want the players that are starving.
Yeah.
Because it means something to them. I want those guys that are wanting, they need this. They need to be successful. They need to be on this team. You want them starving players, not the guys just hungry because I just go fix me something to eat. But if you're starving, you're going to do what it takes to win a football game. And I think that phrase, they do. It seems to, I think Stoney keeps making that point. It's just like, if I'm on the other side of it, I don't really have to scheme up nothing because they're not really doing anything that makes me get out of my comfort zone. And if that's the case, you just calling your plays and just hoping it works.
Yeah.
And that's not.
It ain't good.
Yeah.
It ain't good. I think Jake touches on another layer of this onion that we keep talking about with things just feel disjointed, where we've said things like, they're not on the same page. They're not playing complementary football. It feels like two different offenses at times. Now, from a philosophical standpoint, I think Jake raises a great point that you've got a quarterback that seems to excel when he can be aggressive and attack defenses, but you've got a play calling that, like, you call plays to not lose the game.
Yeah.
You're super conservative. It's almost like you're coaching for these field goals, and so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in that's where you end up, is just constantly kicking field goals. Like, what's the phrase? Like, you've got the Ferrari in the garage, but you never take it out, or something like that. I think that's a great call by Jake there.
Here's a question that's inspired by the chat, but also Jake's call, and we'll go around. Jackson, if you wanted to throw in your input, you can as well. Does Brian Callahan have that dog in him?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Because Cam does, and maybe that is where the philosophy difference is coming through, right? Like he said, it seems like their desperation not to lose, but Cam is desperate to win. And I think it comes down to, I don't think Brian Callahan has that dog in him.
It's tough to say. It's tough to say. We've seen it at times. He's been pretty fiery. Of course, the Will Levis sideline spat last year.
Saw it a little bit
mind.
today. He was like trying to rein in the dog today with some questions from PK.
I think about that Vikings game with the call that Mike Brown took that was kind of bogus. The officials there let them have it. From everything that we've heard from players, it seems like he's a different guy behind the scenes than when he's at the podium. And so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that is not the guy that is showing up to practice week in and week out, because I'm not out there to say.
I've coached high school football out here, and there has been kids that I've coached that have had that dog in them. They give you everything you got, but they didn't have the talent. You can you can take that how you want to. They necessarily had the same talent as some of the other kids that weren't, that didn't have that dog in them. And I used to think, if I can combine the two of you, I got one of the best football
like
players.
if you can combine Brian Callahan with Denard Wilson,
yeah,
you would have one good coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
consistent coach, I guess I should say.
Yeah. So I think to Stoney's point, it's hard to say because he could tell it means something to him. You could tell he's ultra competitive. It's just not clicking. It's just not working.
It's definitely not. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you're on with Titans Talkback. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
I just want to say I don't think Callahan's the guy. I mean, it's just horrible to watch. It's bad to watch the fact that Vanderbilt has a better head coach than the Tennessee Titans, and that's just my opinion.
I agree with you, Anthony. I mean, the way that Clark Lee has built that culture has changed, got players that kind of fit his own mentality, like him and Diego Pavia, going back to what Jake said. I mean, Jake made a really great point. We're probably going to be referencing that for like months. But like Clark Lee and Diego Pavia both are complements of each other.
Yeah.
They're not
together.
yin and yang. They are all yin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was intentional or the head coach has enough skill set to say, this is a personality that I need. I'm just going to let him, I'm going to keep it corralled enough that he doesn't go off kilter, but I got to let him be who he is. And that to me is a sign of a good head coach. You letting your best player direct his team because you see something in him to allow that. Mm-hmm. And it resonates with the rest of the team, whether that's how he is personally or not, but it seems to mesh. But I think he's just done a good job of letting him be the individual that he is, and it's working for them.
It feels like Clark Lee is a sort of vessel that the team flows through, and he allows them to to be their best selves. And I don't think we have a sense of that with this Titans team right now. These seem like two differently run operations, for sure.
For sure. Let's go to Pete. Pete, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
How you doing, man? Pete?
Hey, I got a question for you guys. You know, I've been a Titans fan. I've been a season for years. I've been watching the quarterbacks like Mariota, last quarterback from last year. What's up about the Dogs? And then Wilson. Cam Ward. Now, do you think that we got an issue as far as the quarterback coaching? So we're always throwing a young quarterback out in the field and getting ate up by veterans. Do you think they should sit back and watch a veteran and groom them, be successful?
Pete, I mean, I think every quarterback's a little bit different is how I would answer it, but also you don't have that quarterback that you can allow that to happen on your roster because of poor roster management.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on personality. I think Cam has that in him, but I think, again, who's behind him also has something to do with that, too.
Right.
I go back to Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, where the Colts seemingly struck lightning in the bottle twice with two franchise quarterbacks and their draft picks, and both of them were day one starters. And both of them, one Hall of Famer, one, injuries aside, was heading that way to be a Hall of Famer. And neither one of them needed that time to get their feet warm. And so, it's only 4 games in for Cam. Could he have benefited from learning a little bit? I think we all can benefit from learning to see the lay of the land and playing. But there's also nothing like the experience of playing.
Right.
And learning and progressing and getting better and saying, I've seen this before, let me adjust. Because if he's not the best quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. He sat for how many years before he got his shot? You know what I mean? Just learning the game, perfecting his craft, getting better, getting his arm strength better, building his body up, all the different things, and then he became who he was. So there's something to say about both. I think, because on one hand, two best quarterbacks of my era were Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. One was day one starter. The other one had an injury happen, and he became a starter. So,
yep.
I think if the philosophical approach, which is what we've heard from this front office, is wins and losses don't matter, this season's all about Cam Ward, then yeah, put him out there and let the bullets fly. Like, just get him out there with the live rounds, get the experience, get the reps, grow from that if the expectation is not playoffs or bust. It's easy in hindsight to start questioning that. I don't know what good it really does this team to bring in a veteran to mentor Cam Ward, if that's the objective. So I think that's where I disagree a little bit. I think for me, it's more about, like, you probably just should have gotten better quarterbacks in the room than the ones you have behind Cam Ward right now.
Right.
Is it somebody like Mariota?
Yeah. I mean, like someone of that nature, I mean, like a Josh Dobbs or something like that. Instead, you went with Brandon Allen, who has very little success in the league. Even though he's been in the league and drafted since 2016, he only has like 9 games to his name over from 2016 to now. He wasn't the right guy for that. And everybody says, well, you know, he can be something in the classroom. Okay, well, then hire him as a coach and still get you a backup quarterback.
There we go. Why not?
Like, I mean, at this point, I mean, you haven't set Cam Ward up to fail, because I do agree they want, this season's all about Cam Ward, but now it's about, okay, it still is all about Cam Ward and his development, but is Brian Callahan the right guy to develop him right now, or are we just setting back his development by having Brian Callahan still involved in the day-to-day training of Cam Ward as a professional footballer? So that's the question where it comes to me, and they just didn't set this team up with a guy where maybe, hey, Cam Ward can sit behind him for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever. I'm sure the Giants fans were calling for Jackson Dart after the first game or even after the preseason, right?
Yeah.
And they still waited and ignored the noise, and maybe it works out for them. Again, Jackson Dart could come out next week and look like crap. That's how the NFL goes sometimes.
Especially with rookie quarterbacks.
Especially with rookie quarterbacks. But at this point, I don't think that Brian Callahan is the guy that I want around Cam Ward for the foreseeable future right now. I think it's best to go ahead and cut part ways with him, because Cam Ward can also handle it. Cam Ward's a guy that has gone through many different offenses and many different offensive coordinators anyway, so I don't think he's going to disrupt his day-to-day routine. Heck, he sounds like he has a better routine than most people on the staff, most people on the team. So I think he can handle it. So at some point, I just feel like it's probably time to start cutting bait and thinking about thinking about maybe firing Brian Callahan could be what's best for Cam Ward right now. Coming up next, we'll go to Mike, Eric, and Jared, and the rest of you guys waiting on the phone lines. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. All right, it's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. They're available 24/7. Put Lee Company on your team to tackle your home's heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical problems. Schedule online at leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. And let's go to the phones. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're on with
How you
Titans
doing,
Talkback.
guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Well, not too good. A travesty today. 26-0. And we had changed last week. We were going to improve by picking a new offensive caller. And that was going to fix the problem. And we put up a goose egg, 0. Now we're talking about Callahan and fire him now, fire him back, all the coaches. I'm going to tell you something right now. I am so negative, and I've been with the Titans since they left Houston. The Adams family has not won a Super Bowl. They have not won an AFL championship. And the thing is that now we're at a point where I'm worried about Cam Ward because this guy is good. I still believe in him. And now he's with a team that is not supporting him at all. And they're almost like using him to find out what we can do with him. And if he doesn't make it, then let's go 0-17 this year and get another number 1 pick. And then use Cam Ward as a tradable thing so that we can use the number 1 pick next year to get a bunch of second rounders, first rounders and second rounders. And that's where my thoughts are.
Are you saying that they're going to trade Cam Ward on top of trading for the first round, or that because they have Cam Ward, they can trade back if they were to get the first overall pick?
Because Cam Ward is our pick, and he got thrown to the dogs. He's in there, playing every day, trying the best he can, and he had a bad day today. Let's just admit it.
Yeah,
he had a bad day. And so what they're going to do is now we're 0-4, and we went down to an 0-3 team, our divisional rival, and we lost to them. We made C.J. Stroud gain his confidence back because C.J. was kind of falling because Houston was 0-3. Now they're 1-3, and with C.J. Stroud back. So what I'm saying is that Tennessee now, we're 0-4. We're going down. It's almost like I don't know how much lower we can go, but when you go to 26-0 and you've got a 0 in an NFL team, you ought to at least be able to score a field goal. We didn't even do that. So what I'm saying is I think that management up on the Adams side is saying, look, this season's gone. We've got the number 1 pick. Let's take his pick and then go 0-17 this year or 0-16 or 1-16, whatever, get the number 1 pick again and then trade away Cam, get a bunch of second rounders in the next draft.
All right.
He had me to said trade away.
Yeah,
Cam.
that's what I asked him the simple question, then we went all the way back around.
I was trying to figure out. I thought he was proposing trade Cam Ward and the first overall pick.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Like a dozen second rounders. You know what? You could probably get John Mateer with one of those second rounders.
Well, you could probably get a bunch of Femmies too. Let's just keep going through the phone calls because I don't even know what to say to that other than do not trade Cam Ward. That's all I can say.
Don't trade Cam Ward.
Let's go to Jared in Mount Juliet. Jared, you're on with Titans Talkback.
How's it going, guys?
Going good.
How you doing, man?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So honestly, as a season ticket holder, this is just deflating, and I want to point to 2 play calls about his philosophy overall and what really just has done it for me. And one's from this week, and one is from last week. And this has been talked about already. Forgive me, but that 3rd and 12 handoff to Chestnut with about 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, when it was we were only down 6 points. I just couldn't believe it. This franchise is in tatters. This team's desperate for, and fan base is desperate for, any kind of hope, and they just do a handoff that I think went for a loss. I just thought it was inexcusable. And then, last week, going back to just the field goal debacle before halftime, when they hired him, I just questioned whether or not he could lead a group of alpha males in that locker room. And, with the back and forth with the timeouts and not to relive that, but, when you got to buzz up to some nerd in the analytics, department or whatever, and you got to say, well, what happens if we, do this scenario, or what's the probability if we do this? What's so wrong with saying, hey guys, it's 4th and 1. We're going to go for it, and I want you to knock that man across from you on his ass. And we don't see any of that. We had it with Brady, but we don't now. And that was my problem all along. But, on that 3rd and 12 to Chestnut, he wouldn't have made it back to the bus if it were me without letting him go. I just couldn't believe it, and I just looked for better days. But a lot of this is just inexcusable. And if you're going to do anything, I'm going to tell you, and I'll end on this. The stain of an 0-17 season for this fan base and this city and this franchise is going to be pretty bad. So I really hope they're considering that, because 0-7, I don't even like to think about it, but that's where we're headed. And I appreciate you guys taking my call, and y'all have a good day.
Thanks, Jared. I don't appreciate nerds taking astray in his rant, but I get what he's saying, being more aggressive. But this also brings me back to the discussion that we've kind of had on this show, but I've kind of been diving into it a little bit more. This doesn't really feel like a true modern offense that is adaptable. Like, I feel like that is the big key for a modern offense, is adaptability. Listen, they can't run 12 personnel because they don't have blockers, but they don't want blockers, and they don't care about tight ends that can block, clearly by how they constructed this roster. But now you see all the teams that have really good offenses have 2 tight ends. One of them can typically block, and you can run 12 personnel, and some of the best guys or some of the best offensive coordinators right now are running more 12 personnel, while there are still people doing 11 personnel. They don't go under center a lot. And a lot of the more successful offenses go under center now. They used to be shotgun, but that was now the new trend is under center. So I get to this point where it's like, is this truly a modern offense in how it's executed, how the plays are called, how it's designed and game planned? To me, again, it goes also back to you're playing not to lose. You're desperate not to lose, not desperate to win, when we talk about the 2 play calls he referenced specifically.
Well, play calling or football recycles itself. What they do is add a little spin to it and to what was already out there, and they call it something different. Run and shoot is now spread. RPOs is, it's always been there. And I think to your point, whether you're going 11, 10, 12 personnel, all that stuff doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's about the personnel you have on your sideline and how you maneuver those pieces. I remember several years ago, if you look at the Houston Texans and the Chiefs around that same time, Aaron Foster, and I forget who the running back was for the Chiefs, and both of them were having great success, and they did a lot of 3 tight end sets.
Yep.
And they were overload with the tight ends and do play action off of that, and they had great success off of that. So what happens in the National Football League is defenses, what do, especially within a division? They draft and pick, or free agent, to combat those trends. And so what happens in the other side of football is, so now you're getting bigger on defense. We'll get smaller on offense, so you can't cover us, or we'll spread. That's when I say get bigger, smaller. We'll spread you out. So now you take those linebackers out, and you got little guys in, and then so now we have the advantage. Oh, they said, well, shoot, now we getting these 225-pound safeties that can run like the wind. That's almost like having like another linebacker, or we move this linebacker from safety to middle linebacker. So now you're going to run, and they're smaller, so they're only 230-pound linebackers. We'll go back down to the 3 tight end set. And now we got the physicality advantage. Oh, he also can run and catch himself as well. So you just see recycling of trends based on what the other side does. And so you just try to find the advantage. And I think even like Baltimore is one of my favorite offenses to watch, not just because of Lamar Jackson's probably the most dynamic player in the league. It's not just him, but the variety in what they do. They might go 3 tight end set. They may go 11. They may go complete empty. Leave him back there because he's such a weapon that we got to make sure we can't just blitz him because if we miss, he's going for 80. So and that's part of him being who he is. But the variety from the offense that from week to week, you got to play them pretty honest because you just don't know what they're going to do because they have such a variety. Here, right now, it doesn't seem they have that variety. It's almost like you go get a variety pack of chips and it just all's in there is straight up Lay's.
Just 16 bags of it.
16 bags of Lay's right now.
Or it's like a Chex Mix bag and it's just like the rye chips.
Yeah.
I also would question whether this is actually an analytics-driven team. Like, I feel like the analytics community probably wouldn't agree with a lot of the conservative decisions that Brian Callahan and even Bo Hart agree, if we're assuming he has full autonomy, have made this season so far. So if you're not an analytically driven team and you're not a smash mouth, line up and punch you in the mouth kind of team, what kind of team are you? What kind of offense are you?
And I think that goes back to this team has no identity. Zero identity. This last week, there are still people asking the question, what is this team's identity? To Brian Callahan, and he still can't really give us a true answer. What is the philosophy of this offense? Well, we don't want to have, this is Bo Hart agree, we don't want to have turnovers and we want to score points.
There you go.
That's everybody's philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no identity to this team anywhere. Nobody can articulate the identity, and if they do articulate it, they never put that plan into action.
Yeah.
And that is the problem with this Tennessee Titans team right now.
Right now you're going to the phones, but how many times did they go empty today?
It felt like a lot.
Like empty set, no back. They went empty today?
I feel like the back was back there at least.
All the time?
Because of the offensive line.
Yeah. Only reason I bring that up is just variety of schemes, like line up any shift into a different set. I like the idea of bringing the extra tight end and just see how people line up and see what we can do, run the football. But the reason why I think Pollard is the best offensive player right now, obviously we've been talking about it, but he's also gifted in other ways. He was a wide receiver by trade who's learned to be a running back in the National Football League. He creates matchup problems.
Yeah.
Just by his skill set. And then to me, if I'm looking at puzzle pieces or chess pieces around the board, him, Ridley, need to be utilized in different sets, like trying to create opportunities for them to get the ball in space and make plays.
And I can't believe I'm saying this. You might need to start thinking about bringing up Xavier Restrepo.
Hang on before we get there. Before we get to that, I just want to say you probably could have, looking at the way this roster is constructed, you probably could have added a couple of tight ends that were blocking specialists, leaned into the run game, and you probably could have been playing a little more competitive offense so far.
Because the only reason I bring up Xavier Restrepo is because at least we're talking about having the dog in you, right? I don't know. He's got the dog in him. I don't know how much I can carry. I mean, that's how down bad right now. Because you're not going to win games anyway. And you don't even really want to use Tyler Lockett. Bryce Oliver is injured. Van Jefferson's barely used, even if he may be your most reliable wide receiver right now. He had a
big catch again today.
So why not just use Xavier Restrepo and see if maybe that helps Cam Ward in some form or fashion?
And it might. And I'm going to take you back. Remember that Buffalo game that was a Thursday night game here?
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry threw what's the corner's name? John's drawing a blank on the corner. But anyway, he threw him. Remember that stiff arm and he threw him?
Wasn't that
Josh Norman?
Yeah, Josh Norman. You remember that? But the way that resonated from the sidelines and the energy on the sidelines, right? Just something like that. Somebody just like coming out and just knocks somebody out. That gets everybody just going. Like, all right, we come to play now. And that was simple. That's a grown man throwing another grown man. That's different. But my point is, something like that, there's none of that right now. Just offense. I think everybody's just watching offense like, I hope something happens.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you think about that, you would have thought the Cam Ward deep pass to Elikiah Manor would have been that, right? But then they come in and they do make Blake Hansa eligible, and then they do the flea flicker play. Then they pass it off to Tony Pollard, and then they try to do the pass to Tyler Lockett down the field, which Tyler Lockett shorted the sticks, by the way. and that's a contested catch, and that's not the guy you really want to be going to that needs to get the extra yards off a contested catch, and he can't get separation either. Now, it was a little bit of a poorly thrown ball, but it wasn't really going to really change the play. So at this point, you had that play in the 33 yards, then you got cute, then you went run, then you went short of the sticks. Talk about rhythm. That's not how you build rhythm.
That ain't rhythm.
That ain't rhythm. All right, let's go to Eric. Eric, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, fellas. So I was watching the first drive, and so they were doing a great job, and then all of a sudden, Cam gets smacked in the face.
Oh, yeah.
With
we
a
haven't even talked
forearm,
about that.
and nobody does anything. Why is Brian Callahan not going absolutely ballistic? Tell me why I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. In fact, I even said that, hey, you guys aren't going to win this game anyway. Jeffrey Simmons was right there. Maybe he should have gone out there and choke slammed.
Yeah, just, you know what?
Just choke slammed Azeez Al-Shaair. I mean, you ain't winning anyway, so.
It kind of felt like everybody was
that could have been the play that changed everything for you.
Looking around and pointing and screaming at the officials.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I'm kind of with you, man. Like, I think there are some situations where, like, you take the penalty. And I get that it was an egregious no call, but somebody should have been out there in Aziz's face.
Well, Callahan he was animated, obviously, but again, he's calculating being in control. But if somebody does a bonehead play to the reciprocal, then we're talking about they're an undisciplined team.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Well, that's fair.
So you got to be smart about it. I think. To me, if I'm Callahan, I'm to the caller's point. I'm all on the field. Kick me out this game.
Yeah.
But I want the players to know I got their back, and I'm especially my quarterback, not just kind of turn his head and like what's going on, raise the hands up to the side. You know, that's when you be like, man, that's my quarterback. I got to protect my quarterback. You get the 15-yard penalty. People are gonna complain about me anyway. I'll take the penalty or get kicked out for whatever I say, but show a little bit more that that's my quarterback. He just got hit upside the head. You know, now he was animated, but not to the degree where you're like, dude, that's your quarterback, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's fair criticism, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think there was even a time last week where I felt like Brian Callahan could have got himself thrown out of the game, and maybe that rallies everybody. But it's just like he's so collected and measured that it just doesn't happen. But like that's one right there where that's also a player with dirty play history. And the fact that they missed it is insane to me that they even missed that.
The way Cam's body reacted to the hit, like he inverse scorpion on the field. And I don't know how it was missed, and I don't know why the reaction wasn't a little more fierce.
Did anybody ask him about that in the presser? I missed that.
No, I don't think anybody did, right?
Not that I heard, no.
Yeah.
Oof. All right. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback, and we've already entered trade Cam Ward season here on the show. 4 weeks in. 4 weeks in, people are already saying trade Cam Ward. Here's something to help you make you feel better. Nick Suss of the Tennessean tweeted out a Titan stat for the It Can't Get Worse crowd. Today was the third time in 4 games the Titans offense was held below 4 yards per play. Last year, when the team was the worst in the National Football League, the Titans only had 1 such game.
Yeah, it looks worse, and it is worse.
It feels worse on the inside, too.
Yeah.
Like my wife, when I come home from Titans Talkback now, she will have a fire going, outside, a little bonfire. She has me a few beers to have because she just knows I need to sit in silence and just stare at the fire.
Just need to decompress, huh?
Yeah.
My wife's the same way, man.
She goes, I hope the Titans don't disappoint you today. I go, I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will. All right, let's go to Andy, who wants to talk Titans. Andy, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Good afternoon, guys. It's a day.
It is.
It is a day, Andy. It's a day.
Zach, I want to say I've really come to appreciate and enjoy you on 104.5 and Stony same as well.
Thank you.
Doc, I called you last season trying to offer some positivity, and brother, I'm stretching today, but I'm going to...
I appreciate your effort.
I got the effort. I'm going to shout out Jeffrey Simmons for effort, Cam Ward for tenacity, and Taylor Zarzer deserves some credit for coming into a situation that not only did he have giant shoes to fill, I think he's done a great job of trying to shine up this pig as much as he possibly can, and I know that's got to be tough, so shout out to them. But I'd like to make a comment about Red Ryan, I always do that. At the end of the game, he and Coach were on, and he said, we need everybody to remember, we're going to keep it straight here, but these guys are somebody's son and nephew, and he's right about that. There shouldn't be personal comments about disappointment in your favorite sports team. I agree. But the people you're saying that to don't care to hear it, and most people already know that. We got to stop the kid glove thing with this team. They're bad. They're clearly being coached poorly. You can see effort, but it's not from everybody. These are professionals, really well-paid professionals, and you cannot escape a judgment of the performance just like any of us at any job. And to say things like that almost sounds like it's read off a piece of paper that says from the desk of Amy Adams Strunk. And I understand that Titans Radio is a part of the team, and they have to maintain a certain look. But you've also just got to be honest. This team stinks. There's clearly a disconnect between the corporate aspect of it and the player involvement aspect of it. I don't know what the fix is. I know that Cam is great. I've got a lot of faith in him. Looks like we'll get that number 1 pick that you predicted, Zach. I don't know if I'm glad you did that, but it looks like we're on our way.
Everything we're not comes true, apparently.
I love it. And no, like that guy said earlier, we're going to trade that for picks. They're going to use Callahan as a bit of a fall guy because they'll be able to get rid of him. It's going to get them some, like that guy said, some second rounders and maybe a first rounder. It's a 3-year rebuild, it looks like. I'm not going to wear my Titans gear that I've spent a lot of money on and been a 25-year fan of over the next 2 years for a dog like that. And I don't mean dogs as in players. I mean an embarrassing level of effort on both sides of the ball. I don't know how we can call it anything other than that. Do you?
I agree.
Maybe not effort, maybe production.
Yeah.
Because effort and production is different.
He did make that point today in his press conference. Thanks for the call, Andy, and the many compliments. But sorry, I guess he was going to continue talking. But I would agree. I think that's the best way to put it.
Better production, better than effort, because they're playing hard. They're just not producing. And he had some very great points. That was a good call. The part about what Brett was saying about someone's family and things, I think sometimes we lose the human element that is a human being out there who has been gifted with the skills to play in National Football League. He's of 1%. I'll talk about that. I think because they are targets and entertainers, and I'm only speaking as I've been there, so I can speak from it, that we forget that sometimes. However, and as I said earlier in the show, you are playing a kid's game, getting a king's ransom, and you're not winning. So that comes with that job. Just like actor who makes a movie and people don't like it, you've exposed yourself to the criticism because that's what you put up there. So that's part of it. I think the caller made a great point when he said, if it goes beyond like the game and it starts getting personal, that's when we get too far. Just keep it about the game.
And I think that's probably Rhett's overall point is someone makes a bad movie, you're likely not getting death threats.
Right.
Someone misses a kick, you're likely getting death threats. And I think that's the line he's trying to make sure that, and maybe he's seen or heard fans or say something that crossed that line.
Right.
I personally haven't, but that doesn't mean that I would condone it if it did happen, right? I would say, let's keep it about the game. I think if you keep it about the game, that's all that really matters. And to be honest, Cam Ward said it. We ass. So I think we can all say it, right?
I mean, it's real. The production of the playing is what it is. But again, and we talked about it before, like, I can't imagine being head coach and my kids are in school right now.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's tough scene.
I would have to we talked about this off air. I mean, I would have to homeschool. If I were a coach, I would have to homeschool, whether it's for the SEC or the NFL. I'm not, or send them to like a boarding school over in Europe or something. Like, somewhere away from here.
Put them on a plane. Get out of here. I can't deal with it. Yeah, it's been brutal, and I think it's the raw emotion of fanhood that I think gets the better of people sometimes. That we lose sight of that. I think as long as you keep it as objective as possible and just keep it, on the field, it's okay to say out loud, like, the team's not very good right now. So that's where I sit on it.
It's okay to boo. It's okay to be frustrated and mad.
Yeah. Don't throw trash at them and stuff like that.
I'm all for don't get personal. Don't attack my family. Don't attack my kids. Don't attack, stuff like that. Attack me personally. Attack what's happening on the field. Attack the fact that we had won a football game. But when it goes beyond that, that's where I have the issue.
Yeah, and I think that's what Rhett was trying to say, because I'm sure he feels like he's been in this long enough. He can feel when the tide is turning into maybe a too negative of a situation. It should be negative.
Absolutely.
But we don't want to go personally negative. Toxic negativity. Let's go to Cedric. Cedric, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, listen, so keeping this theme, I don't know Brian Callahan personally, but I've certainly got to see Coach Brian Clownahan. And what he did, man, was come here and bring the Bengals offense to the Tennessee Titans. And you know what the Bengals offense have done over the last couple of years? Get Joe Burrow absolutely murdered. And that is what Coach Clownahan is doing right now with Cam Ward. He's getting him killed. Also, Coach Clownahan comes here. He doesn't adjust to Cam Ward's strengths. He tries to put a round ball in a square peg, and it ain't working. Great coaches adapt to what their players do well, and Coach Clownahan has not done that one bit. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of his at all. And furthermore, this guy has proven that he's the ultimate beta in the NFL. You can see it when PK asked him a hard question in the press conference, and the guy's like, "Oh, PK, let me gather myself. Doggone it, shucks." And then he proceeds to say a cuss word. Like, dude, give me a break, man. It's time for you to move on. The Titans have a hiring issue, and it starts at the top. We keep bringing in these people that don't have experience. Every head coach that comes into college football, high school football, it doesn't matter. They talk about this winning culture that they're going to bring, and we've got this unbelievable locker room, this unbelievable culture. Brian Clownahan doesn't know the first thing about a winning culture. And I'm sorry, people. Listen, man, everybody talking about all these great coordinators that we need to go get, Kingsbury and all these. We are not going to get any of those people. Nobody wants to come be a part of this. The people that we need to go get are guys that have experience, and you're going to be locked into a dude like Mike McCarthy. Wrap your mind around it. It's not a bad thing. That dude has won everywhere he's gone. That's who we're going to be stuck with. And we need to go find a GM that has done it before. I'm sick of getting these guys that don't know how to draft players, guys that don't know how to call plays, guys that have never done it before, and guys that can't take us to the promised land. You look at McCarthy, he'd be the best coach in our division right now, man. I'm sick of seeing this crap. It is time to fire Clownahan. I'm out. Holla.
I mean, I really don't dismiss anything that he said. I kind of agree with it. I kind of do think that the Mike McCarthy thing is kind of inevitable. I kind of joke about it a little too, just because I know fans get all riled up and they're like, but Mike McCarthy, he only went 12-5 3 of the 5 seasons he was at Dallas. He didn't do it all 5.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like where this team is at right now. It kind of feels like that's the type of personality that they need. And I don't know.
It's kind of, is it a mix between Vrabel and what we're having right now?
Yeah.
Because Vrabel was more a no nonsense type of guy, my way to highway type guy. And it worked for a minute. Obviously, he had some great success and had not thrown a pick or two in that first playoff game here. We had number 1 seed. We might be talking about a different story because I think they might make a run if we don't have those turnovers.
I'm with you.
You know? You might be talking, Vrabel might still be here given he had won that, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought they were the best team in the NFL that year. Just they caught a game, they weren't playing that well, and they lose. It's hard to say. I think most people, when they got to the end of Vrabel's tenure where they were over the kind of like Butch Jones, over all the talk and just I want production, kind of the same thing. Like it becomes muffled words. It becomes like the Charlie Brown wah, 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 after a while, right?
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm going back, Zach, if you remind me, everybody was talking, they wanted an offensive-minded coach.
Yep.
Innovative coach, coming from a system of proven production, all the different things. So Callahan was the brand new shiny car that was like, this is exactly what we asked for.
Right. And he didn't live up to the resume,
exactly.
right?
So my point in saying that is sometimes you and again, I've never been in situation rooms when I've interviewed head coaches in situations like that. A lot of times in the NFL, what seemingly happens is they touch the cloak of a coaching tree and hope to get the same success.
Right.
We've seen it work with like the McVays and the Grudens of the world who followed Holmgrens and some of these other guys who had followed some greats that it had some success in the NFL. Even Holmgren, though, as great as a head coach he was, I think he gets that nod because he won the title in Tampa Bay, which came after Tony Dungy had built that roster up.
Gruden.
Gruden. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Gruden.
Well, the best part of Gruden's resume is now old enough to honky-tonk and buy beer downtown.
Yeah, that's it. It really is. Right. My point is, but it was, again, you pull a guy from the staff of a coordinator or a head coach has success, and you think McVay is the most recent, and he's creating a coaching tree of his own.
And a pretty good one so far.
And he is. And he's one of those guys who wasn't a play caller until he was, and now look what he's kind of doing. And the Rams have been pretty consistent for the past few years as far as relevance. You know, they've been at a Super Bowl II. They're in the mix again this year as far as winning. Last year, I think they had a semi-down year, but they found Nuka and all these other people. Like, he's one of those guys that hasn't had a big drop-off. If you remember, after they won the Super Bowl, all of a sudden they're talking about, well, he might be gone next year. I'm like, man, how soon do y'all forget?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think if it's not snowing in Philly in that playoff game, Philly might not win the Super Bowl. Like the Rams, like they couldn't get that offense, the passing game going in the elements that day. But Sean McVay has done a fantastic job with the Rams. And I don't know. I think it's easy in hindsight to look back and question the decision. Like we wanted this, but Callahan having never called plays before, I think we were quick to dismiss it at the time because of the system that he came from.
Exactly.
And we didn't look at it as inexperience. And I think that is coming home to roost a little bit.
I think we all got resume blind, right? And, and what I mean by that is that we saw all the quarterbacks he worked with, but never really questioned. Blaine has been the only person that I remember questioning it, but never really questioned, what did you do here exactly?
Exactly.
And that is the thing, and we're seeing now is that he may have been around all these great quarterbacks. He may have seen and heard and wrote down all the stuff that he needs to do, but he can't put all that into action.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Is it interesting, though, across the league, the trend is more head coaches that call their own plays on the offense side of the ball?
Yeah.
Minnesota, Philly. Well, he kind of gave his up, though, in Philly.
Yeah, he did give his up.
He gave his up. Here, Cincinnati, Rams.
Yep.
I'm trying to think.
Niners.
Most of the guys
Vikings.
Yep. Most of those guys are on the offense side of the ball calling their own plays. Aaron Glenn's first year head coach. He's not calling defense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just giving an example because he was on that conversation between the two, and where are they now? They right at 500, I think, ish.
Yeah. So, okay, so we got to go to break. But coming up next, we'll continue this discussion. Write down whatever your thought is so you don't forget it, Stoney. This is Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback, Dr. Dyson. We got the scholar, Stoney Keeley, and I'm the professor, Zach Lyons. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company tackle their heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical problems, and they can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. And guess what? The kids are getting fed because the Kroger is set to check out today's final sack numbers tonight. Thanks to Big Jeff and Arden Key. The Titans had 2 sacks versus the Texans, adding $200 to their $600 total, bringing it all the way up to $800 for Kroger's donation to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. Every time the Titans sack the opposing team's quarterback, Kroger donates $100 Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee from Kroger. Through its Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan, Kroger is committed to creating communities free of hunger and waste. Kroger is the official tailgate headquarters of the Tennessee Titans. And try Boost by Kroger Plus for free pickup and delivery, plus 2 times the fuel points with your membership. Start your free trial today at Kroger.com. Pay as low as 1 cent per gallon when you redeem fuel points by using your shopper's card. Every 100 points gets you 10 cents off per gallon. Exclusions apply. Visit Kroger.com for details. Stoney, you had a thought before we went to break about the coaching hiring process and the philosophy that should be, used by the upcoming Tennessee Titans head coaching search.
Yeah, we were talking about the eagerness of teams to just hire somebody that comes from a particular tree. And it just occurred to me, I jotted it down, hire someone for who they are and not where they come from.
There you go. I love it.
I like it.
I think that's the way to go. Let's see. What about the Cody Barton and Femi sack? Well, first, that was Cody Barton only. Femi was just kind of like touching someone, over there. But there was also a penalty on that. Sorry, Buston.
Yep, that's true.
Legarius Sneed penalty.
We did get a sack from an edge rusher today, though.
We did. First time this season, finally. Took 4 games, but we finally got a sack from an edge rusher, thanks to Arden Key. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to JB. JB, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my phone call. So, watching this season, to be honest, I think we're worse than 2017 Browns and the 08 Lions. They both went 0-16. I think we're that bad. And to be honest, by Tuesday, I'm calling my shot. I'm going to hear that breaking Titans news on 104.5. Callahan has been fired. Then 24 hours. Bill resigns because Daddy's going with him. But I want to say something. I want to see what y'all think. What we've been seeing, would y'all do a package trade for Sneed and Ridley to somewhere else and get picks so we can rebuild? That's what I want to know. And I got one thing else. I'm not going to mention no names, but the Titans sales consultant trying to sell me tickets because I was a season ticket holder before. Quit calling. I'm not answering for a reason. That's it. Thank you, boys.
There you go. I'm
shopping everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
if you
could
at this
package
point,
them
if you
up
can
for
get
something, but
get draft picks, I mean, I'm at least taking those phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, is there anybody on this team? I mean, obviously, we are getting calls about trading Cam Ward, but are there any other players besides Cam Ward that are off limits? Because I don't think anybody should be off limits if someone is willing to pay for them. Depending on the price, obviously.
Interesting.
Yeah, but this is the genesis of the rebuild, right? Anyway, and problem with that is in order to have a rebuild, you still have to have some cornerstone pieces.
Yeah.
And so I hesitate to give, and I had a friend text me that too, about go ahead and let Big Jeff go, get some picks, and start over. But for me, it's hard. When he's borderline Hall of Famer at this point, right? I think he's pretty close. He's pretty good, interior lineman. It's hard for me to sit there, and I get it. It's hard for me to say, yeah, trade a bona fide perennial Pro Bowl player to start over when it's hard to get that kind of guy in your locker room anyway. But I understand the other side of it too, where it's like, this is start this thing over. But I feel like we already did that. So if you're already doing that or in the midst of doing that, getting rid of one of, if not the best player in your team, doesn't seem to be logical. That seems to be illogical. But we're trying to get more value. But then again, you get more picks, more value as far as that's concerned. Who's to say that's going to equate to one of Big Jeff?
Yeah. I think tackles are hard to come by, so J.C. Latham is safe.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of with Dr. Dyson. Like, it's really hard the way Jeffrey Simmons is playing right now to justify, like, removing that from this defense. I mean, gosh, if it looks like what it does now, imagine it without Jeffrey Simmons. That's going to be hard to watch. And then I would give some pause on Roger McCreary, too. I think he's played pretty well. He's a young guy that I think you can still build around, kind of fits the model for what this team wants to do. But other than that, I'm taking phone calls. I'm open for business.
Like somebody like Snead, right?
Right.
The amount of money he received, what it was happening, and then the way he's responded to it kind of makes himself a target for it. Like today, what he said, was that the only play you watch? Next question. Like, own up to, you know, I had a bad play, had a bad moment, whatever it is. But did you see the rest of the game? Yeah, that was bad, but I pretty much blah, blah, blah. But again, it opens yourself up from the athlete's perspective to that ridicule, to those questions. And to that point, does he have value still by the way he has played since the injury?
I agree. I think everybody's got to be on the table. All right, we're in a conundrum here. We got two Bryans. So here's what you Bryans have to do. I'm just going to have to say, Brian, you're on with Titans Talkback. And if you ask, are we doing okay? And we say yes, then you're the Brian that's on the air. So there we go. So Brian, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Am I on the air?
You are on the air.
That's the one.
There we go.
And by the way, I'm not Brian Callahan. Somebody accused me of that last time I called him. Here's my point. You can, by the way, love you guys' show.
Thank you.
You can have excellent players and make an average coach look pretty good. And I have a personal example of that. I was a high school coach in homeschool. I had 4 future college players, and I told somebody, well, we'll win the national championship with these 4 players. The other 2 or 3 I had were not very good, but I knew with those 4 we were going to win. And we won with an average coach the national championship, which has been a number of years ago. And I'm not here to talk about how bad or good, Brian Callahan is, but this problem started in 2020 with Isaiah Wilson. There's nobody, not one player off that list that's with us today. Those players should be producing. Whoever picked those players, they had the problem. You go to 21, Caleb Farley. Wasn't he injured? He's an injured player. We picked number 1. Dylan Radens, nothing. Nobody on that list is still with us. 22, we get rid of our number 1 receiver, and he goes to eventual champions and becomes their number 1. And we pick up Treylon Burks. He doesn't produce. Malik Willis, who didn't look any good, is the only person that has produced. I'm looking here at the list. The only person that has produced when he went to a team with players and we were playing and he beat us like a drum. Then you go to 23, Skronsky's producing. Tajay Spears, an injured player who is now injured again. And then you don't have anybody else there. Now, here we start. The last 2 years, we've had some pretty good players picked in that 1 and 2 spots. And even this last year, Cam Ward, Chimray, Gunner, Ameyer, however you say his last name. We've got 4 players that are producing out of this class, 2 or 3 producing out of the last class. Of course, we traded Brownlee here. Don't understand that one. But my point is this. Look at Philadelphia. They wanted to fight. Was it last year or the year before? They went 0-4, 0-3, something like that. He's literally arguing with his fans behind him. They wanted to fire the guy, and then he wins the Super Bowl because he's got great players. And I don't care who you bring in here as another coach, they will be stuck with average players. And there's about 4 stars. I think you got 4 stars. Cam Ward, J.C. Latham, Skronsky, those guys are good. They're solid. But think about how good we would be right now. Much better if we had Isaiah Wilson. Maybe we don't pick. Maybe we've got our edge rusher now because we didn't have to pick somebody. Two offensive linemen. Isaiah Wilson was supposed to, take Luan's place. He didn't. He wanted to be a rapper. I'm just saying we don't have players, and there's nobody you're going to bring in my opinion, that's going to be able to fix this problem this year. I mean, we're all saying at the beginning of the year, oh, guys, don't get too excited. Don't get too excited. Look at these players we have. Oh, and you know what? They're doing exactly what they're because they're out there, average players for the most part, except for a few stars. They're trying to take on better players. We don't have enough yet. It's going to take 2 or 3 more years of drafting. And Borgonzi or whoever's in there. The one thing you can say about these two guys right here, they did pretty good with their drafting this year. That's one thing I think you could say they did okay with. Anyway, I'm done.
All right, thanks, Brian. Brian, not Callahan.
Yeah, saying the players are the problem.
Yeah.
No,
nice try, not beating those Callahan allegations, Brian.
I think it's a major problem, and if we're on the darkest timeline, that's why I keep telling people this team's probably another couple of cycles away from really building out the roster.
They told us it would be a 3 to 4 year rebuild.
Well, that's to that point, and to the caller's point, it's players, right?
Yeah.
Players still play. Now, coaches help, right? But the players still play. So my point of you're going to give them away, it was bad enough when you saw Derrick Henry or A.J. Brown go, right? Now look at that. Look how that worked out. My point is you're going to get rid of Big Jeff too? I get it. He's your most valuable asset you have aside for Cam, but he's not going anywhere. He just got here. So for what? A couple of draft picks that might not work out like him? I don't know.
Fair point.
I don't know. But there's value in free agency, obviously. You got to hit the right guys at the right time, and you got to draft well. And it still remains to be seen, but the draft picks of the last couple of years, for the most part, have been okay. Some of the upper round picks haven't been. Radens comes to mind. Obviously, he's most recent. And he mentioned Isaiah Wilson. There's a couple linemen there. Womack, another high draft pick offensive lineman that didn't necessarily work out, but they've hit on a couple different ones.
Yeah.
Conklin was a good one. Lawan had a good career. But we hit on a few.
All right. Guess what? It's your Eurofix look ahead coming up next. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. And guess what? It's time to look ahead to next week's opponent in the Look Ahead presented by Eurofix. Let me remind you that Eurofix repairs everything European that you drive and below dealer pricing. ASE certified technicians, a local company that has serviced Middle Tennessee for over 2 decades. Visit EurofixOnline.com. Next week, the Titans unfortunately have a game that we all have to watch play as they head over to Arizona to face the surging Cardinals. I use surging because they're actually figuring stuff out during their rebuild. And I kind of feel like this is what most young rebuilding teams want to be when there's a coaching switch.
Yes.
Obviously, Jonathan Gannon did not draft Kyler Murray, but he's kind of made things work despite maybe there being a lot of people who don't like Kyler Murray as a quarterback. And I watched this game the other night. You saw Marvin Harrison Jr. overcome drop issues and get a much-needed touchdown. They're putting it all together. And I think that's when you're talking about a good drafting team, which I think we could say Bergonzi, at least through one draft, has proven to be a pretty good drafter. These guys are now, that they have drafted, are now playing and contributing. And if you were to maybe look for hope, is that the Titans make a they go from a Cliff Kingsbury to a Jonathan Gannon type head coach, and things start to take off, and their players and draft picks start contributing at a high rate.
As we've been talking through this whole show, I'm trying to figure out what is it? Is because now we're on to trade players and rebuild and all that kind of stuff. When the conversation was about Callahan and the coaching staff, and I think it's a combination of the two. But there's one thing that's always going to be constant: the players play, coaches coach, and you can't just get rid of 53 guys and start all over. And here's another 53. Right? So you got to have a core sense of guys that you can, quote unquote, rebuild around. And I don't think getting rid of Big Jeff is wise to say, who are you rebuilding around to make this thing work? So to that point, I'm thinking, well, if coaches coach, players play, the players right now, regardless of where you think they fall as far as their ability compared to the rest of the league, they're not responding to what's the coaches they have on staff right now because it's not producing wins. So it's obviously a disconnect between the two, because when it's all working from up top to the coaches to the players, we see the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills. Yeah. You see those teams, and they're not, even when they let guys go, they bring people in. It's just like a culture that they have of expectation of winning. And I'm going to use the Detroit Lions as the example right now, as an example. Right now, Detroit Lions are one of the best football teams in the National Football League. Would y'all agree?
Sure.
Yeah. For the last few years? But how soon did we forget how long they were in the dungeon and how long those fans stuck by them through all that? How many phone calls they had about fire this guy, new office coordinator, do this, we're rebuilding, this change, we'll figure it out, finally we get there. And you hope that the Titans valley is not this long and that long.
Right.
And even
it's
the
about
Packers,
shortening that valley.
Shortening the valley. And the Packers even went through this too, right? Before they figured some things out, Brett Favre and whatever. But my point is, we're in a short, small valley right now, and it seems like dire straits. And again, we went to Super Bowl 20-something years ago, and I think that's why people are like, because that was so fast, so quick, that they feel like it's forever. But they have some relevant seasons. They've had some relevant players, some historical moments, 2,000-yard seasons. It's been good football around here. Now I think we look at people like the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills, some of these people who are seemingly at the height of their peak and they're in the playoffs and competitive every year, that you think that's the expectation. But this is the National Football League and it's balanced. I'm not saying you shouldn't expect your team to win. Absolutely. And I think just from a player, from a fan perspective myself, optimism every year, I want my team to win. And I think that's your right. But you can't just like clean house, start new, and hope it works out, because you're always going to be right here. So you have to build from something. And right now, the connection between upper management, coaching staff, and players is not fully connected, obviously, or they would be winning.
Yeah.
So but if you continue to, that's the microcosm of all this. If you continue to make those changes in all those different areas, which they have done from GM, president, coaches, coaching staff, players, draft picks, free agency. Let this guy go. There's always going to be this disconnect, and we haven't had anything stable for a long period of time other than the Vrabel regime, where we had 2.5 seasons of football, and then it was like, okay, now we're losing our mojo, so let's make a change.
What do you see from the Arizona Cardinals in this look ahead? Because I know you're a big fan of Monty Ossenfort's drafting. I know you like what they've been able to do on defense and our offense. Yeah. Talk about that. And sorry to Kenny, Rory, and Brian. We're just not going to be able to get to you guys tonight.
Listen, I think people are going to look at this and see a 2-2 team. They're going to see the struggles that Kyler Murray has had, that Marvin Harrison Jr. has had, and they're going to get their hopes up. This is a well-oiled machine. This is a team that has personnel that is drafted and signed well. There's a misconception about this offense. I don't think they want to put the ball in Kyler Murray's hands. I think they want to run behind James Conner if he's healthy. Trey Benson's showing some flashes. This is another team that has 2 tight ends that can get out there and block and move the chains. Draft picks along the offensive line, Isaiah Adams, Paris Johnson Jr., their center, Froholt, one of the most underrated players in the league. This is a team that wants to push the ball and drive. On defense, it's comprised of hybrid players that can rush the passer or drop into coverage, guys that can cover deep, can do a lot of different things, and they get really exotic with those looks. People forget Jonathan Gannon came from that Philadelphia Eagles tree. So this is a team that it looks like they're 2-2, and it's a winnable matchup, but they're just a young team in their trajectory on their rebuild that hasn't quite figured out how to show up in the big moments just yet. But on paper, from a talent perspective, this is a team that matches up pretty well against the Titans. It's going to be a long day in Arizona.
They have drafted well of recent, too, at least from the outside perspective. They've gotten some skill guys, some good defensive players in their last few years. It's starting to come to fruition a little bit. It's a deceptive 500 team. I think they got a lot of young talent. That's scary. Potentially could be scary.
It could be 4-0. Could be a 4-0 team.
Yeah.
And they stayed the course, right? They had an opportunity to maybe fire Gannon last year, and now they're kind of looking like a dark horse in the NFC. May not come together this year, but they're an ascending team. Real quick, Lions versus Ravens Monday Night Football last week. I tweeted out, games like tonight is why football is awesome. 2 well-coached teams with cultures that 90% of the league would love to emulate. Games like tonight is why football is awful. 2 well-coached teams with cultures that the Titans are so far away from achieving. Titans, that'll do it for the Lee Company Titans Talkback. We'll see you guys next week. Titans radio coverage is produced by... Oh, wait a minute. I still got 1 more minute. Man, I really thought I was going to be going through. You start playing the music and it throws me all off. I blame Jackson for this bungling after pitching a perfect game 2 weeks in a row of not saying cover 2.
We could talk about Isaiah Adams a little more. Dude's a bowling ball with legs.
Should I just read this last stuff just really
from the chat.
Slow. Oh, I can definitely read from the chat. All right. Titans radio coverage is produced by Joseph Bonanno. Studio producer Justin Hawkins. Promotions director Rich Ferris. Director of sales Hunter Rice. General manager Allison Warren. Operations manager Paul Mason. And executive producer of Titans Radio Rhett Bryan. This has been the Lee Company Titans Talkback. For the doctor, Kevin Dyson. For the scholar, Stoney Keeley. I'm the professor, Zach Lyons. See y'all next week.